My name is Anna Miller. At a family dinner in Chicago, my own mother tried to quietly take control of my career, my contract, and my future, right in front of everyone. What happened after that dinner changed how I see family forever. If you've lived through something similar, tell your story in the comments. The phone was still buzzing when I stepped into my parents' dining room, blazer folded over one arm, shoes kicked off near the door. An email thread from work sat open, unread. Mom noticed immediately. "Put that away," Linda said. "This is family time." I slid the phone face down on the table. Plates were already set. My sister was mid-story describing neighborhoods and interest rates like she'd rehearsed it. Linda smiled at her, then looked at me. "Your sister's closing on a house next month. That's stability. She's always been on a different level." Nobody corrected her. My dad nodded once, slow, like he was approving a budget. Linda turned back to me. "So, Anna, when are you going to settle down? Something permanent, not all this moving around." The edge of the chair dug into my palm. The clock above the stove ticked too fast, then skipped a second. My sister kept eating. Dad cleared his throat, but didn't speak. I stood. No one asked me to sit. No one asked why. The chair scraped louder than I expected. "I was appointed deputy director for the European region this afternoon," I said. "Operations." Linda blinked. My sister stopped chewing. "They're transferring me to Paris," I added. "Compensation triples. Contract needs to be signed within 48 hours. No one spoke. Linda reached for her water glass, missed it slightly, then laughed under her breath. "Well," she said, "that's ambitious." She glanced at the paperwork I'd brought home, the folder resting beside my plate. Her hand slid it closer to her place setting. "That kind of thing isn't always final," she added. "These companies change their minds." My dad stared at the table. The clock jumped again. Still wrong. "Paris is pretty far," Linda said. "Is it even safe?" It sounded like she was asking about parking. My phone vibrated against the wood. Once, twice. An automated subject line flashed on the screen before I flipped it over. "HR, mandatory meeting, immediate." Linda noticed. "Work can wait," she said. I picked up the phone. It can't. Another vibration, then another. My sister finally spoke. "So, dinner?" The smell of food hung there untouched. No one moved to serve anything. Linda's fingers stayed on the folder like it belonged to her. Dad reached for his fork, then stopped, watching the phone instead. I pushed my chair back and grabbed my bag. The folder stayed where it was. "Don't be dramatic," Linda said. "Sit down." Her voice followed me, calm, practiced, already certain I would eventually listen like I always had before. The screen lit again with a calendar invite, a video link, a timestamp already counting down. I headed for the back door, shoes half on, phone pressed tight in my hand. By the next morning, the family group chat was active again. My name never appeared in it. A cousin texted separately, "Your mom's worried. She says you snapped last night." An aunt followed, "You know how sensitive Linda is. Maybe apologize so this doesn't turn into a thing." The messages kept coming in that same careful tone, each one softer than the last, like they were trying not to wake someone sleeping nearby. No one asked what had happened after I left. No one mentioned the folder on the table. At the office, my badge worked, but the floor felt different. People nodded instead of stopping. A few conversations ended when I passed. HR emailed before I reached my desk. "We need to pause the Paris contract pending clarification of a family-related concern." That was the phrase, family-related concern. A meeting invite followed, then another, both labeled temporary. When I logged into the internal system to pull my personnel file, an error message popped up. Limited access. Certain tabs were grayed out, like they'd never belonged to me in the first place. Another email arrived right on top of it. "We hope this finds you well." That line sat there bright and polite, while the rest of the message explained my access had been adjusted out of caution. Marcus Lee leaned against my cubicle wall without announcing himself. "Don't respond to anything yet," he said. "Just forward it to me." He didn't ask how I was doing. He never did. Instead, he pulled a chair over and opened his laptop. "Your mom called HR," he added. "She didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She sounded reasonable." That word again. "She said she was concerned about your decision-making under stress," Marcus continued. Framed it as support. Support, apparently, came with a timestamp. He clicked through a calendar log and frowned. "There was a system access into your file yesterday afternoon," he said, "before dinner." "That shouldn't be possible." "It wasn't authorized," he replied, "but it happened." He didn't explain further. He sent himself a screenshot instead. Across the aisle, someone laughed. It wasn't aimed at me, but it landed the same way. At lunch, I sat with a salad that stayed untouched while texts kept lighting up the phone. "Just smooth it over. Your mom's under a lot of pressure. You don't want to ruin Thanksgiving over this." Thanksgiving was 3 months away. HR called mid-afternoon. "Anna, we just need some time," the representative said. "Your mother has your best interests in mind." "She doesn't work here." "No," the woman agreed gently, "but she's family." That seemed to settle it. The deadline came through at 5. 72 hours to complete an internal review. If the transfer couldn't be cleared, the Paris role would be reassigned. The system sent a reminder 30 seconds later. Marcus stopped by again before heading out. "Save everything," he said. "Don't argue. Let them build their version." "What if their version wins?" He shrugged. "Then at least we'll know what they used." At home, the phone rang. I didn't answer. Then a message appeared instead. "Emergency family meeting, tomorrow, 7 p.m., same place." Linda had sent it to everyone this time. My name was included, last on the list. The invite synced to my calendar automatically. It landed right next to the HR deadline, the 2 blocks overlapping in red. Another email from HR arrived as I watched. "We appreciate your patience." The word patience stayed on the screen longer than the rest. A notification popped up from the system, cheerful and precise. "Your access changes have been successfully applied." I closed the laptop. The phone buzzed again with a follow-up from my aunt. "Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." The family meeting invite refreshed, reminding me to respond. Accept or decline. The HR deadline blinked beside it, counting down in hours instead of days now. My thumb hovered over the screen while another message came through from Marcus, short and without punctuation. "Found something else. Call when you can." The copy turned up where it shouldn't have. It was folded inside an old tax folder, sandwiched between W-2s from years ago and a receipt for a laptop I no longer owned. The heading caught first: Limited Power of Attorney. My name. Linda's name. A date from 4 years back. The language was careful. Support with family-related administrative matters. Authority to communicate when necessary. A line about representation that didn't list boundaries. I hadn't thought about that document in years. It had been signed during a week when everything felt rushed. Linda had said it would make things easier if paperwork ever came up while I was traveling. I'd skimmed, signed, and moved on. The missing piece slid into place. The folder on the dinner table. The way her hand had pulled it closer without looking. That hadn't been habit. That had been aim. An email notification arrived before the thought settled. HR forwarded. Marcus had added a note at the top. She contacted them again. The forwarded message followed. Linda's name. Her personal email. No raised voice, no accusations, just concern. As Anna's mother and authorized family representative, I feel obligated to flag that she may not be in the right place to make a major overseas decision at this time. She's been under visible stress. Authorized. That word sat there like it belonged. I drove straight to my parents' house. Linda answered the door already composed, like she'd expected the visit. "You should have called," she said. The kitchen was clean. The clock still showed the wrong time. "You emailed my employer," I said. She didn't deny it. "I protected you," Linda replied. "That's my job." "You used paperwork I barely remembered signing." "That paperwork exists for a reason. To decide my career? To make sure you don't hurt yourself, she said. You've always been impulsive. I laughed once. It came out short. You told them I wasn't stable. I told them you were overwhelmed, Linda corrected. There's a difference. The folder from dinner sat on the counter now, thinner than before. You took the contract, I said. She placed a hand on it. I kept it safe. For who? For later. Dad stayed in the living room. The television murmured. He didn't look over. I'm revoking the authorization, I said. Linda's smile didn't move. You can file whatever you want, she replied. It won't apply retroactively. That part I already knew. The administrative office downtown was quiet in the way offices get when everyone is focused on forms instead of people. The clerk took the revocation paperwork, stamped it, then paused. Do you want to keep a good relationship with your family? She asked, glancing up. The question was neutral. The tone wasn't. I want the document filed, I said. She nodded, slid it into a tray, and handed back a receipt with a date written in pen. Processing takes time. Time had already been spent. Marcus called while I was still in the lobby. They invited her, he said. Who? Linda, to the verification meeting. Before you. The word before carried weight. She's listed as a concerned party, he added. That authorization opened a door. A calendar alert appeared on my phone while he was talking. The meeting. Linda's name already included. At home, another email arrived from HR. Thank you for your continued cooperation. No mention of me in the header, just cooperation, floating there without an owner. A family message followed minutes later. Your mother is just trying to help. And then another. This could have stayed private. I forwarded everything to Marcus. The revocation receipt, the old document, the forwarded email Linda had sent. He replied with a single line. Good catch, not enough yet. The system pinged again, a meeting update. Linda's attendance confirmed, mine still pending. I opened the calendar. The family meeting invite from before still sat there unanswered. The work meeting now overrode it automatically. 2 events, same evening, different stakes. A final notification slid in, polite and precise. External participant access granted. Linda's name followed. HR didn't wait for the review to finish. The meeting invite shifted first. The Paris title disappeared from the header and reappeared as Role Under Reconsideration. By the time I reached the office, the change had already been applied in the system. My manager didn't look surprised. We're reassigning you temporarily, she said. No active projects. Temporary landed hard. No projects meant no leverage, no visibility, a holding pattern without an end date. HR followed up an hour later. The nomination for Paris is withdrawn for now, the representative said. We'll revisit once concerns are resolved. Concerns had a source. A document appeared in my inbox marked confidential. It was labeled Family Context Summary. Not written by HR. Submitted by Linda. The language was smooth, familiar. Anna has always struggled with transitions. She takes on too much responsibility too quickly. Family has observed patterns of burnout and poor judgment under pressure. Observed. Family. There were no facts, no incidents, just conclusions arranged like care. My phone buzzed again. Not work this time. Why are you doing this? My sister asked over text. Mom's trying to help. A cousin followed. This is embarrassing. HR shouldn't even be involved. An uncle sent a single line. You always complicate things. Marcus sat across from me in a conference room with the document open between us. She didn't accuse, he said. She assessed. Based on what? Based on access, he replied, and tone. He flipped to the attachment, the authorization, the same one I'd found the day before. This clause, Marcus said, pointing, allows communication on your behalf regarding major decisions. Major wasn't defined, neither was duration. That's the door she walked through. So that's it, I said. A form beats performance. For now, he answered, because the form fits the system. There was no appeal button for context. HR called again before lunch. "Anna, we want to minimize disruption," the representative said. "Your mother raised legitimate questions. She isn't employed here." "She's authorized to speak," the woman replied. "That matters." It mattered more than my record, more than the offer letter, more than the countdown that had run out quietly overnight. The Paris number stopped calling. Family messages kept arriving, each one thinner than the last. "This didn't have to go this far. Just let it cool down. Why are you fighting help?" Linda didn't message. She didn't need to. The meeting finally happened late afternoon. HR Legal, a risk officer. Linda's name appeared on the attendance list again. Mine appeared under observer. She spoke first. "I'm not here to interfere," Linda said. "I just want to make sure Anna doesn't make a decision she'll regret." No one interrupted her. When it was my turn, the legal rep held up a hand. "We'll circle back," he said. "This is about patterns, not moments." Patterns are harder to disprove. Afterward, Marcus walked with me to HR's office. "They're not accusing you," he said. "They're protecting themselves." "With my job." He nodded. "This is what it looks like when concern becomes control," Marcus added. "You can't argue it away. You have to change the frame." HR handed over a printed notice. "Position adjusted. Duties to be determined. Effective immediately." The representative slid it across the desk like it was neutral. "Sign here to acknowledge," she said. The paper was warm from the printer. A final message came through from Linda as I stood up. "I told them you needed time." The hallway outside HR was empty. Phones rang somewhere distant. Footsteps passed without stopping. My phone buzzed once more. A missed call notification. Paris. The number didn't try again. I stepped out of the office with the notice folded under my arm, the system already updated behind me, the corridor stretching ahead, while the phone screen stayed dark in my hand, and the elevator lights began to change. The apartment felt smaller once the door closed behind me. Not cramped, just reduced to what it actually was. A rented place with borrowed furniture and a desk pushed against the wall because it fit nowhere else. The notice from HR went onto the table first. Then the Paris offer, still printed, corners bent from being carried around too long. Emails followed, stacked by subject line instead of hope. Everything that had felt urgent a week ago now sat still, waiting to be reread. The power of attorney stayed at the center. The signature looked like mine. The date was right. There was no version of events where someone else had forced my hand. Convenience had done the job. Linda had said it would help if something came up while I was traveling. No drama, no risk, just efficiency. That logic had worked for years. Scrolling back through old messages made the pattern clearer than any accusation. Little check-ins framed as concern. Suggestions disguised as relief. "I can handle this for you. You've got enough on your plate." Each one small enough to ignore. Together, they formed a habit. Paris hadn't broken anything. It had exposed it. The phone buzzed once on the desk. Marcus. "Found the link," he said when I answered. "Your family email account sent attachments to an external attorney last month." "What attachments?" "PDFs, contracts, internal summaries." The name of the law firm followed. One I didn't recognize, but the specialty was obvious. Corporate advisory, risk mitigation. "That email account shouldn't have access to any of that," I said. "It didn't," Marcus replied. "Not directly." He paused. "The files were forwarded from your work address first, logged during a time you were on site. So someone used my account." "Yes. Or had permission." "That's the other option." Permission sounded cleaner, more acceptable. The system preferred it that way. The cost came into focus all at once. Not the job, not Paris. Those were already gone. The real cost sat closer to home. Pushing this forward meant crossing a line that couldn't be redrawn later. No holiday resets. No apologies that smoothed things over by February. The family would not see this as defense. They would see it as betrayal. And work would never fully trust the situation again, even if the audit cleared my name. Marcus said it plainly. If you ask for an independent review, it stops being internal politics, he said. It becomes a record. And after that, everyone chooses sides. The phone went quiet. No follow-up. He never pressured. He only laid out consequences. Another message came in while the documents were still spread across the table. Linda, I'm worried you're taking this too personally. The words were measured, almost generous. I told them you needed time. You should be grateful someone stepped in. Gratitude had become a requirement I couldn't meet anymore. The audit request form took longer to find than to complete. It was buried under compliance links and FAQs written to discourage curiosity. Every section asked the same thing in a different way. Is this necessary? Yes. Is there a personal conflict involved? Yes. Are you aware this may result in disciplinary action for all parties? Yes. The cursor blinked at the end of the last line, waiting for hesitation. There was none left to give. Before sending, I forwarded Marcus the draft. This ends family relations as you know them, he replied. You're sure? The answer didn't need words. The email went out to compliance, legal, and audit oversight. No commentary, no explanation. Just dates, logs, attachments, and a request for review based on unauthorized access and misrepresentation. The system responded in under a minute. Your request has been received. Another followed. A case number has been assigned. The efficiency was almost comforting. Linda called. The phone rang until voicemail picked up. No message followed. A family text appeared instead, already spreading. What are you doing? This could ruin everything. Why are you escalating? Escalation implied emotion. This wasn't that. This was procedure. The laptop stayed open as I shut the phone off completely. The screen dimmed, then refreshed, displaying the sent message in the outbox with its timestamp locked. Outside, traffic moved the same way it always did. Neighbors passed in the hallway without stopping. The building didn't react. A final notification appeared from the compliance system, more formal than the rest. Independent review initiated. Do not contact involved parties. I closed the laptop, then reached over and powered the phone down fully, the button resisting for half a second before giving in, leaving the apartment silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator while the audit clock started running without me watching it. The audit didn't start with my job. It started with money. Compliance sent the first request at 9 in the morning, not about emails or access logs, but about financial disclosures tied to my employee profile. Accounts I recognized, others I didn't. One line item repeated across documents. Third-party guarantees. Marcus called as soon as he saw the list. This isn't about you leaving, he said. It never was. What is it about then? Control, he replied, and leverage. The next batch of documents arrived before noon. Loan guarantees with my name attached. Old ones, some tied to my parents' address, some linked to accounts that moved money through me and back out again. None of it illegal on its face. All of it dependent on proximity, availability, access. Paris would have broken that. A note from compliance followed, written in the same neutral tone as everything else. Several arrangements appear to rely on ongoing domestic presence. Domestic. The word felt carefully chosen. Linda called twice. No message. Then an email arrived instead, copied to legal. I'm concerned Anna is misinterpreting routine family support as misconduct. Support again. That word carried a lot of weight for something that moved money and signatures without my involvement. More pieces lined up as the afternoon went on. The reason Linda had pushed for me to stay local. The way she tracked my promotions more closely than my hours. The insistence on handling anything that required a signature. Even the comment at dinner. That kind of thing isn't always final. She'd known. Not guessed. Known. Marcus forwarded another thread. Found this buried, he wrote. It was a calendar invite from months ago. A meeting between Linda and a regional HR consultant. Marked informational, scheduled during a conference I'd been attending out of state. Preparation, not panic. The response came fast. Linda filed a counter-complaint before the audit team finished intake. The allegation was formal, detailed, filed through counsel. I had created unnecessary risk exposure. I had accessed records outside my role. I had shared internal information without authorization. One attachment flagged the log Marcus had found earlier. Evidence obtained through improper means, the complaint stated. Improper meant unusable. Compliance acknowledged receipt within the hour. So now it's both of us, Marcus said. Parallel review. What happens next? They separate the cases, he replied, and they freeze everything. The freeze came in the form of another notice. Pending investigation, I was restricted from accessing additional records, communicating with named parties, or representing myself externally in any employment-related matter. The symmetry was almost impressive. Linda sent a text an hour later. This is getting out of hand. The timing didn't feel accidental. More family messages followed, sharper than before. Lawyers? Really? You're hurting everyone. You think you're smarter than the system? The system didn't need intelligence. It needed compliance. HR scheduled a disciplinary interview. Compliance scheduled another. Legal asked for availability. 3 calendars, same week. Marcus walked through the process without softening it. They're going to test credibility, he said, not truth. How? Consistency, history, motive. Linda had history. She had a pattern that looked like care, and now she had a complaint on record. What about the financial ties, I asked. They matter, he replied, but they don't move fast. Nothing about this moved fast except consequences. A message from compliance popped up while we were still talking. Certain materials you submitted may be excluded from review pending determination of acquisition method. Excluded. That was the word. The log that showed access before dinner, the forwarded email chain, all in question now. Someone planned for this, Marcus said, and they didn't start last week. Another email arrived, this one from Linda's attorney. All communication should now be directed through counsel. The distance was official. HR sent a final notice for the day. Disciplinary reviews scheduled, attendance required. Linda's name appeared again, listed as a reporting party. The building emptied as evening set in. Desks shut down, lights dimmed. My screen stayed bright. The realization settled without drama. This wasn't a fight about independence. It was a collision between habit and paperwork, between a system built to trust family roles and one built to protect itself. Linda had learned how to operate both. The disciplinary notice refreshed once more as I watched. Status updated. I opened it. Parallel investigation confirmed. Temporary suspension of advancement eligibility. Further action pending. My phone buzzed. Marcus again. They're widening it, he said. You're officially under review now, too. For what? Process violations, he replied. They'll define it later. The symmetry returned. Both names, both cases, both sides waiting. A final notification landed as the office lights shut off automatically. Please acknowledge receipt. The button waited. I didn't press it yet. The room was already full when I arrived. Legal sat on one side of the table, HR leadership on the other. A compliance officer joined remotely, her name tagged in a small box on the screen. An external auditor introduced himself with a nod and opened a laptop without looking up. Linda came in last. She wore the same calm expression she used at family gatherings when tension showed up uninvited. A leather folder rested under her arm. She chose a seat across from me, close enough to make eye contact easy. No one asked how we were related. That part was already in the file. The auditor spoke first. This meeting is to review documentation related to unauthorized access, representation, and potential conflicts of interest, he said. We'll proceed chronologically. That was the opening. The first document went up on the screen, a login record. Date, time, access point. This log shows my personnel file accessed before the dinner where the Paris roll was discussed, I said. The access wasn't mine. Linda leaned back. I don't recognize that, she said. Anna's mistaken. The auditor nodded and moved on. Next came the email chain, the forwarded attachments, the timestamps. These files were sent from my work account to a family email, I continued, then forwarded externally. Linda folded her hands. I think there's been confusion, she said. Families share accounts. It happens. The HR director glanced at legal. No one interrupted. The auditor clicked again. A confirmation from a third-party server appeared. Delivery receipts. Exact times. These timestamps confirm the forwarding sequence, I said. They align with the access log. Linda tilted her head. I misunderstood how the system worked, she replied. That wasn't intentional. A misunderstanding landed softer than denial. It always did. The auditor paused. Let's proceed, he said. The final file loaded slowly. It was audio. The room shifted. Chairs adjusted. Linda straightened. The recording began with a greeting. Thanks for taking the call, Linda's voice said. I just need to confirm the arrangement. The lawyer responded, professional and unhurried. As long as Anna remains domestic, the guarantees remain enforceable, he said. If she relocates, those instruments lose utility. A pause. So delaying the transfer buys time, Linda said. Yes, the lawyer replied. It maintains leverage. The audio stopped. No one spoke. Linda's mouth opened, then closed. That recording was taken without consent, she said. It's illegal. The auditor checked his notes. It was provided by counsel, he replied. Lawfully obtained. Linda turned to me. You recorded me? No, I said. Your lawyer did. Silence returned. Thicker now. The HR director cleared her throat. Ms. Miller, she said to Linda, your role as a family representative is under review. A notification chimed softly from the conference room screen. Access revoked successfully. The words appeared in plain text at the bottom corner, impersonal and final. Linda looked at the screen, then back at the table. That's premature, she said. Legal spoke this time. Based on the material presented, we're suspending your ability to communicate on Anna's behalf effective immediately. The leather folder stayed closed. The auditor gathered his papers. This concludes the evidentiary portion, he said. Findings will be documented. Linda stood. You're making a mistake, she said, addressing the room. I was protecting my family. No one responded. HR added one last line, measured and practiced. Linda, you're no longer authorized to represent or contact the company in any capacity. The meeting ended without ceremony. No summary, no reassurance. People logged off. Chairs slid back. Papers were collected. Linda left without looking at me. The fallout didn't arrive all at once. It came in notices. Compliance sent the first update 2 days after the meeting. Linda was under administrative review for misrepresentation and unauthorized communication. Her attorney withdrew the same afternoon, a short email copied to all parties, citing irreconcilable differences. No explanation followed. HR called next. Your record has been restored, the director said. There's no finding of misconduct on your part. The pause that followed mattered. The Paris role has been filled. That part was said carefully, like a known disappointment that no longer required attention. A revised offer arrived the next morning. Different region, smaller scope, clean structure. The contract listed my name only, tied to a new account, new reporting line, new authorization rules. The subject line didn't change. Congratulations on your updated role. The system had a sense of timing. Family communication stopped pretending to be neutral. My sister sent a single message. I can't believe you did this. An uncle unfriended me. A cousin blocked my number without comment. Holidays disappeared from the calendar without discussion. My father called once. We met at a diner halfway between our places, a location chosen for convenience instead of comfort. He arrived early and stood when I walked in, like it was a meeting instead of lunch. Linda wasn't mentioned at first. "She's not doing well," he said eventually. "This has been hard." "I know," I replied. He waited for more. None came. "I don't hate her," I said after a moment, "but I'm not sharing decisions anymore." That was the boundary. Simple. Complete. He nodded, slow, like he'd been practicing that motion. "I wish things were different," he said. "So do I." We paid separately. No argument about it. The contract signing took less time than expected. Legal confirmed the terms. Compliance added a short appendix. HR sent the onboarding checklist immediately after. Another automated message followed. "We look forward to your continued contributions." It landed while I was packing. The old house key turned up in a drawer I hadn't opened in months. It was still on the ring with the spare garage fob and a label Linda had written herself years ago. My name in her handwriting. I held it for a second, then set it on the table. The post office was busy. People waited in line with boxes and returns, each one focused on their own small errand. When my turn came, the clerk didn't look up. "Priority or standard?" "Standard," I said. The envelope slid across the counter. The clerk weighed it, stamped it, and dropped it into a bin without asking why it mattered. At home, the phone buzzed again. HR confirmation. Transfer effective date. Reporting manager assigned. The screen lit up with one last family message. This didn't have to end like this. No reply followed. The door locked behind me as the envelope receipt settled into my bag. The apartment felt unchanged. Same furniture, same walls. The difference lived elsewhere. Another notification came through, brief and final. Transfer confirmed. I set the phone down and turned the lock, the sound sharp and exact, while the confirmation stayed on the screen, waiting to be dismissed as the new role moved forward without asking who used to hold the keys.